into a cross-legged position. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sunrise Flow. My name is Roselle. Those of you who might not know, most of you do. And today is our slow burn flow. So we're going to hold some poses for a longer amount of time. We do have a theme today. It's similar to the thing we've been working on the past couple of days, which was openness. And this time we're working into the hips and working a bit more on surrender. So surrendering to what's going on. Sort of a similar concept with being open to what comes to your door, but this time we're just surrendering into that. So we're going to start in a cross-legged position. Now we have an option today that if you'd like, we can come to shoelace. So this is only if it feels good, and if you need to pop anything underneath your knees, then feel free to. Otherwise, you can always just come to a cross-legged position, or even to a Baddha Konasana, so to this kind of diamond shape. But otherwise, we'll play with our shoelace. We're going to take our left foot in front of us, and then we're placing our right on top. So what we want is the ankles to stay quite firm and flexed where they are, so they're not flopping. And then we want to place the right ankle on top of the left knee. So you might have a gap between your feet. That's perfectly fine. Or you may be able to press the knee down into your ankle. So just have a little play. If it doesn't feel right, then just come into cross-legged or the diamond shape. That's perfectly fine. And we'll start from here. We're just going to take the hands together, close the eyes, and let's drop into the body. Take a big deep inhale in through the nose. And exhale out through the nose, allowing the body to soften, allowing the hips to sink, the spine to release slightly, and the shoulders to soften. Taking another big deep inhale. And a big deep exhale. So if you're in this shoelace pose, or maybe even in any of the others, you may feel that your hips are starting to slightly work, your hip flexors are starting to move. Keep taking your deep breaths. So one of the important things to note when we work with our hips is that we really can't force our hips necessarily. We don't want to try and push them down too much. The best way to get your hips to open up, to release more, is simply to surrender, which is to just let go in the pose. Just allow gravity, allow them. The deeper that we relax into our hips, the more that they soften, the more that they will release down. And that's really the way they're kind of like a stubborn little child. So you need to kind of let them think that they're winning. Just allow them to surrender down. You can begin to open the eyes now. We're going to inhale, take the arms all the way up over the head. And as we exhale, we take this right hand down to the floor and lift the left arm up. So just a gentle stretch over to the right, looking towards the ceiling. Big deep breath here. As we exhale, go a little bit deeper into the pose, keeping a softness through the right hand. And then inhale, come all the way up. From here, we'll take both hands up. We're going to twist the chest over towards this right knee. And then as we exhale, bring the hands down towards the floor and fold it over. You may not get very far, don't worry. Just play with where you're at. We're just warming up, just stretching. Take a big deep inhale here, lengthen through the spine. And exhale, increasing the fold slightly. Inhale, lifting all the way back to center, taking the arms with you. And then from here, let's take the hands forward. Fingertips to the ground, lift through the chest, and then exhale, begin to creep the hands forward. Again, just see where you end up. You may be able to get all the way down to the floor. You may not be able to get very far at all. It doesn't matter. Play with your edges. See where you're at. And as we do this, keep surrendering into the hips. Keep allowing them to soften. And on inhale, come all the way back up. We're going to twist over to the left knee. So twisting the spine over and taking the hands down. Take a little length through the spine and then exhale, fold. So one side may feel a lot easier than the other side. Note that. And then breathe into the space. On the next inhale, lifting all the way back up. And then exhale, take this left hand down to the floor. Big stretch over to the left, looking upwards towards the ceiling. Taking a breath in. And as we inhale, lifting all the way back. Seated. And let's change around. If you're not in shoelace, then you don't need to change. Otherwise, we'll change. Feet. Find where it feels comfortable for you. This may feel a lot stronger. It may feel easier. And we'll lift the hands all the way up. Good. From here, take the left hand down to meet the ground, stretching over to the right hand side, to the left hand side, looking up towards the ceiling. Keep the shoulders soft. Take a big breath here. Inhale. Keep both ankles still nice and flexed if you're in this shoelace pose. And exhaling. On the inhale, let's lift up, taking both hands up, twist over to this left knee, and then releasing the hands down. Big length through the spine, and then we can release. Inhaling, lifting all the way back up. And exhale forward. Taking a big breath here. And then inhale, lift back up. Twist over to the right. Take the fingertips down. And releasing here. Keeping that length in the spine. Noticing niggling in the hips this way really gets to my hip flexor. So it's important to just try to soften into those places. And then inhale, lift it. Final one, over to this right hand side. Right hand down, moving over, looking towards the ceiling. And then inhale, lift all the way back up. We'll take the palms together at the top and draw the hands down the central line. Good, well done. You can release the legs out. If they're on a shoelace, if the hips feel anything at all, just give them a little shake out with the legs and the hips a little shake. And then from here, we'll move all the way over into our table pose, into familiar territory. Let's take the wrists underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips, and then we'll move through our cat-cow. So as we inhale, just dropping the belly down, dropping the chest between the shoulder blades, lifting the gaze to the horizon. Draw these shoulders back, and then as you exhale, press through the full hand, and releasing the spine up towards the ceiling, really stretching here, allowing the head to drop and release. Keep moving here with your inhales and your exhales. And as you move through these, please feel free to kind of adjust these however you want to make these bigger, maybe rolling over the wrists, rolling back towards their heels, to go from side to side, to circle around. Always remembering this, your practice, it's your body, so do whatever feels good for you. Whatever feels right. Good. Keep moving with that breath. Big, deep inhales, big, deep exhales. Lovely, everybody. Good. As fast or as slow as you need. Great. Lovely work. If you're going in circles and you're going one direction, change the direction around. And then we'll just do two more here. So whatever you're doing in your cat-cow, just taking two more of these. And then coming to neutral back, coming to stillness. And then from this neutral stance, from stillness in our table pose, let's take the hands a little further forward. Tuck the toes under if they're not already. Drop the hips back. Actually, what we'll do is we're going to take a wider stance today in our downward facing dog. So let's take the hands to the outer edges of the mat. So it's quite wide now. And then take the feet as well, the knees, to almost the outer edges of the mat too, or they can be on the outer edges. And then from here, we're going to, again, draw these hips back. You may have to take the knees off in order to do that. Draw the hips back and lifting up into your downward facing dog. This will be a really wide dog. Just begin to walk through that dog, taking one heel down, taking the other heel down. See how it feels. Go really slow here. Really begin to feel into these legs, into the hamstrings. The slower you go, the more of a hamstring stretch you get. Good, lovely. Keeping those hips nice and high. Great, everybody. So we're getting into that wide downward facing dog. Keep going here. And then we'll begin to come into stillness in our wide dog. So keeping the hips nice and high, bend the knees slightly,
Lift, lift, lift. Draw the chest through. And then from this position with the knees bent, we can begin, once we have the hips really high and the chest moving through, length through the spine, we can begin to draw the backs of the knees away from you. And then maybe beginning to drop the heels. Really don't worry about how far you come in this. We're just having a little play around. Now from here, see if you can take the hands a little closer towards the feet. So the closer we get in, you may need to start bending the knees, that's fine. Just see how it feels within the body. So take them slightly closer to the feet. And then we're going to take this right hand and either take the right hand to the center of the mat, so between the hands and the feet, or crossing all the way around to hold onto the shin of the left foot, to hold onto the calf. And then we can begin to twist from here. This is a wide leg twist. So finding any stability wherever feels okay for you. And if you're twisting, keep the hips moving really high, pressing through this left hand, pressing through the feet. And then on an exhale, twist the chest a little further through the arm and the leg. If the hand is on the floor, doing the same thing there. Good, really well done, everybody. Inhale, lovely. Great, Bethany. And exhaling. Beautiful, really good. Just holding for one more breath here. Inhaling. And on the exhale, release the hand all the way back into this wide downward facing dog. We're going to change sides. So keep the hips really lifting here, and then engaging the core, start to move this left hand to the center of the mat, and then maybe reaching over to the outer edge of the calf of the right leg. And then maybe beginning to twist the chest through. Keep the hips moving upwards. Good, keep the chest moving towards the knees and maybe through that arm. Beautiful, really good, everybody. Really nice. Take a big deep breath here, fully inhaling. On the exhale, so you can go slightly further. And then beginning to come back to your wide downward facing dog. Good work, everybody. Bit of a balance and a big stretch. So from here, we're going to take the hands all the way back to a regular downward facing dog. So find where feels right for you. The hands slightly further away from the feet. And the feet closer in towards each other. Keep the hips drawing nice and high, and then bend through the knees. Look between the hands. Engage the core, and either stepping or as lightly as possible, floating these feet forward. Take a halfway lift onto the fingertips once you're there. As you exhale, just grabbing hold of the elbows, bend the knees slightly, and allow the elbows to drop down, allow the head to release, and take a little bit of a sway from side to side. Nice and slow. Just working even more into those hamstrings. As we dangle down, so feel the full weight through the elbows here. Allow the head to be heavy. And then coming to stillness. And just fully allowing, coming back to that idea of surrender, just allowing the arms to fully surrender down towards the ground. The body to be heavy. And just lightly press through the outer edges of the feet. Closing the eyes, taking one big breath here, inhaling. And exhaling. Release the hands down, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, full fold. And then inhale, lifting all the way back up to standing. Good. Draw the hands down the central line of the body. Draw the fingertips down, we're coming to our mountain pose, Tadasana, at the top of the mat. Take whichever variation feels good for you, whether that's feet together or the feet slightly apart. And then spread the toes, so lift the toes off the ground, spread them out, place them down onto the floor. Really feeling the floor underneath you, starting to engage down. Again, think about lightly pressing down through the edges of the feet. And allowing that to kind of turn on the legs. Into the hips, engage the core, navel moves to spine. And we drop these shoulders downwards. And then we lengthen through the crown of the head, so really reaching up as tall as we can. As we inhale, lift the hands up towards the ceiling, gaze to the thumbs. Exhale, drop the hands down to the floor, bend the knees as much as you need. Head releases. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step the right foot back, left foot back. We're moving through our chaturanga here. So rock forwards and then take the knees down or keep the knees lifted, whichever feels right. Eyes the elbows forward, engage the core. Lower down as slowly as you can in one straight unit.
And then taking your option, either baby cobra, cobra, or upward facing dog, wherever we are, press down through the toes, peel the chest through, draw the elbows together. Exhale, release down, tuck the toes under. Let's move to our downward facing dog.
From here, lift the right leg nice and high, three-leg dog. Bend through this left knee, draw the right knee towards the chest. Place this right foot between the hands. Inhale, lift. We're going to hold our present lunge. This is our high lunge. So just check in with this lunge here. To keep the balance more, you can take the feet a little wider away from each other so they're more in line with the hips. To increase the difficulty of the balance, we can take the feet so they're in line, one with each other. That's going to be quite a difficult balance. We lift the hands nice and tall and we drop the hips down. So we want this knee to be directly on top of the ankle and then press through this back knee. Press the heel as if it's pressing against the wall. And then draw the navel in. Keep holding here. Good, really good, everybody. Keep the arms really lifted. So they're shooting up. Good. And drawing the shoulder blades down. Lovely, everybody. Inhaling and exhaling. See if you can get slightly lower. Good. Yes, very nice. Okay, we're going to hold for 5 more breaths. We can do it. Inhale and exhale. 4 more. Inhaling. Exhale, lower slightly. Good. 3 more breaths. Inhale, shoot the back of that knee up, up, up. And exhale. 2 more breaths here. Inhale and exhale. Inhaling here. And then as we exhale, we're taking the left hand down. We lift the right arm up towards the ceiling, coming into a twisted lunge. So you have an option. If you do want to take the knee down, you absolutely can work with that. Otherwise, try to keep the knee lifted. And as we do this, we can really tend to kind of dump the weight into that hand. So I want you to think of somebody's pulling you up through these right fingertips. So there's really little weight going through the hand here. And then twist the chest towards the ceiling. Keep holding here. So it makes it a lot more, that makes it a lot more active when we put hardly any weight through that hand. Good, lovely. Inhaling. Yeah, if you get cramps, stretch it out. Inhale. And exhale. Really good, everybody. Soften the shoulders down towards the hips. And press through that back knee. Inhale. Good. And exhale. 5 more breaths. We can do it. Inhale here. And exhaling. Lovely, everybody. Inhale. As you exhale, twist. Good. 3 more breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Just 2 more to go. Inhaling fully. And exhaling fully. Last big breath. Inhale. Lift through that right hand. Exhale, twist. And then releasing the hand all the way down to the floor. As we do this, both hands on the floor, we want to take this right foot all the way to the outer edge of the mat. Taking both hands down, we're coming to a high lizard. So if at any point you need to take that back knee down onto the floor, you absolutely can. Otherwise, try to keep that knee lifted. Press through the hands so that like we're in our cat version of our cat-cow. So we're really lifting through the middle of the shoulder blades. Reaching upwards with that, pressing through the hands, pressing through the back of the leg, and then dropping the hips down. Holding here, inhale. Good, and exhale, lovely. Inhaling. And exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. Breathing through the nose, keeping that fire breath. Inhaling here. And exhaling. 5 more breaths. We can do it. Inhale. And exhale. Really good work, everyone. Push through the middle of the shoulder blades. Inhale. And exhale. Inhaling. And exhaling. Press through that back knee if you can. Last couple of breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Last big breath. Inhale here. And as you exhale, drop the knee down.
if it's not already. Good work. Okay, from here, if you want to keep that back knee lifted, you absolutely can, but otherwise you can drop the knee down. From here, what we want to do is we want to flex through this right foot. So we want to keep that right foot really engaged and just begin to drop the right knee out to the side. So we're winging into our lizard. If this feels too much at any point on the hip, if it doesn't feel right, if you get sharp pains through the hip, just keep that knee locked back in. Otherwise, allow the knee to drop outwards, keeping the ankle flexed. And then from here, you can stay here on the arms. We can begin to reach down onto the forearms if that's accessible for you. So you can stay with the knee down, or you can begin to lift that knee back up. It's completely up to you. We're going to hold here, inhaling. And exhaling. This is winged lizard. Good. Inhaling. And exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. Good. Inhale. And exhale. 5 more deep breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. See if you can lift that back knee. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Pressing through that back heel. Inhaling. And exhaling. Just 2 more deep breaths. Inhale. Exhaling, allowing the hips to surrender. Last big breath. Inhale here. And exhale. Good. Drop the knee down, knees up. And we'll begin to lift this right knee back in towards us. Place the hands firmly down, tuck the back knee, foot, back toes, and then we can shift back into our downward facing dog. Give the hips a little bit of like a walking dog here, just to ease out. And then from here, let's look forward. You can stay in a downward facing dog, or you can take your vinyasa of choice. So working through your chaturanga, lifting into your baby cobra, cobra or upward facing dog, and we'll meet back in our downward facing dog. Taking a big breath once there. Big deep inhale. Big deep exhale. On the next inhale, let's lift the left leg nice and high, 3-leg dog. Then bend through the right knee, draw the left knee towards the chest, place that right foot between the hands. Again, to make this harder, to make the bounce more difficult, take the front foot in line with the back foot. To make this slightly easier on the balance front, you can take the feet to hip distance apart. Just find the option that feels right for you, and we'll lift up into our crescent lunge, into our high lunge. Lifting these hands, and then we drop through the hips. Make sure that that knee is directly on top of the ankle. And then from here, push through the back knee. Push the heels of this against the wall, draw the navel in, and hold. Good. Inhaling, lift those hands nice and high. And exhale. Good. Inhaling. And exhaling. We've done it one side, we can do it the other side. Inhaling. And exhale. 5 more breaths here. Inhaling. As we exhale, let's drop a little bit lower. Good. Inhale. Exhale, draw the navel in. Good. Keep going. Inhaling. And exhaling. Just 2 more breaths here. Inhale. Shoot through the back knee. And exhale. Lower, lower, lower. Last big breath. Inhale. And as we exhale, drop the right hand down to the floor, lifting the left hand all the way up. So we're into our twisted lunge. If at any point you need to place the knee down, please feel free. Otherwise, keep that knee lifted, drop the hips down, lift the left hand all the way up to the ceiling. Every inhale, we want to lengthen through the spine. Every exhale, we want to twist a little more towards the ceiling. Keep that left knee tucked in towards you, so it's not kind of splaying out to the side. And holding here. So again, as we work with this, see if you can put as little pressure through the right hand as possible, and instead feel as if somebody's pulling you up via your left hand. Good. Keep breathing here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhaling. And exhaling. In through the nose, out through the nose. 5 more deep breaths here. Inhale. You can do it, and exhale, twist. Good. Inhaling. And exhaling. Just 3 more breaths. Keep twisting. Inhale. And exhale. So you can put as little weight through that hand as possible. Last 2 breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Last big breath. Great work, everybody. Inhale. And as you exhale, take this hand all the way down to the floor. You can take the knee down for a moment and just wiggle the left foot all the way to the outer edge of the mat. So we've got both hands to the inside of the foot. From here, we'll make our way into our lizard pose. So as you come to our lizard, make sure that knee is drawing against the shoulder. And then from here, you can either stay with the knee to the floor, but I encourage you to try to press up through that back of the knee and then begin to allow the hips to just soften down towards the ground as we firmly draw the back of the knee up towards the sky and we press through the back heel. As we're in this, press through the hands wherever you are, even if the knees to the floor, press through the hands, and then as if this the shoulder blades come round. So we want to push up through the middle of the shoulder blades, holding here, lizard pose. Inhale. And exhale. Good, really good work, everybody. Inhaling, yep, see if you can push through even more through those shoulder blades. Good, and exhale, allow the hips to soften. Nice, inhaling. And exhaling. Keep the energy going through that back leg, lifting through the knee, pressing through the heel. Inhale. And exhale, 5 more breaths. Inhaling. And exhaling. Inhaling. And exhale. 3 more to go. Inhale, lift it, good. And exhale. Really engaging for the last 2. Inhale. And exhale. Last big breath. Inhale here. And exhale. Place that back knee down to the floor if it's up. And then from here, we're coming to our winged lizard. So we want to keep the ankle, keep the foot flexed as we begin to wing this left knee out, outside. If this feels sharp shooting pain, remember, just keep the knee back in, that's absolutely fine. And then from here, we can either stay with the hands down, or we can maybe come onto the forearms if the hip feels like it's able to, if it wants to today. And maybe from that position, we begin to lift the back of the knee off the ground. Good, holding here in our winged lizards. This is our low winged lizard. Breathe, inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. Remember, this is the last big hard one. And then we come to the floor. Inhale here. Lift through that back knee if you can. And exhale, allow the hips to soften down. Good, keep going, inhale. And exhale. 5 more deep breaths. Inhaling. And exhaling. You can do it, just 4 to go. Inhale. And exhale, good, great, Billy, go for it. Inhale, 3 more breaths. And exhaling, brilliant, B. Inhale, 2 more breaths. And exhale. Last big breath here, inhaling. And exhaling, releasing the knee down to the floor. If it's not on the floor already, and take this knee all the way back into the shoulder. Tuck the back toe. Let's lift all the way back into our downward facing dog. And in our downward facing dog, just allow the walking dog to happen. So allowing one heel to come down, the other heel to come down. Find the chest move through. See what's going on in the hips. And then from here, we have an option. So you can take an optional vinyasa if you'd like. So moving through your chaturanga, your upward facing dog, baby cobra, whichever feels right, and back to your downward facing dog. But this is optional, you don't need to. And then we'll meet back in our downward facing dog. And from here, let's just take the knees all the way down to the floor. Take the knees nice and wide. Take the big toes together. Allow the hips to sink back towards the heels and drawing the hands forward. So here you have options in your child's pose. You can either take the hands forward, you can take one hand on top of the other and let the forehead rest, or you can take the arms all the way to the sides of the legs, allowing the head to roll over onto one side. Just taking a moment here to allow the hips to surrender once more, but in a in a maybe nice and more comfortable fashion than our lizards and our lunges. Allowing yourself to come back to the breath. Big, deep, comfortable inhales and exhales through the nose. And then from here, we'll look forward and we're just going to come back to our table pose to begin with. So we have one final kind of surrender in our hips that we're going to do. So for this one, you may need to have some cushions if you want some cushions, or you can kind of start to double up your mat a little bit. Sometimes you can even find it easier, it depends on what surface you're on, so I find it a lot easier on wood, but it is quite a lot on the knees. So just find an option that feels right. If this doesn't feel right when you do it, just come to a child's pose instead, that's fine. But we're going to play with our frog position. So our frog pose is what we want is we want to start exactly from our table pose. So we want the wrists, the arms to stay in line over the shoulder blades. And namely, we want these knees to stay in line with the hips. So we don't want the knees going further back or further forward. So we want them exactly in line. From here, we just begin to ease these knees away from us. So the hips are coming down towards the floor. The legs, we want to stay again at a right angle degree. So we don't want to, we still want this nice shape as we go down. We don't want them tucking the toes to tuck towards each other. And then you move down as far as feels comfortable for you, maybe coming onto the forearms, and then we ease down into these hips. So this may feel much too difficult. If it feels too difficult, just come into a child's pose, that's fine. Or as an alternative to frog pose as well, what you can do is you can come to a nice Baddha Konasana, where you come to a seated position and you just work with drawing these knees down to the floor. That's fine too. If there's anything with the knees that it feels too much. Otherwise, let's stay in our frog pose. So finding the right option for you. Good, really good, everybody, lovely. And breathe in this pose. This is just purely about surrendering here. There is no need to push when we're in frog. We just want to let the hips do what they're going to do, let the body do what it's going to do, and just ease here, allowing the arms to take more of the pressure than the legs. Good. And breathe nice and deeply. If the hips are all the way down to the floor, what you can do is start to press a little into the hands and lift the chest just slightly. It's hard for me to see where everybody is exactly, but this is really good work. I can see that you're all in it. Good. Just holding for a couple more breaths here. So we're going to hold for 3 more deep breaths. Inhaling and exhaling. 2 more here. Inhale and exhale. Last big breath. Inhale. Exhale. And then on the inhale, you need to kind of walk the hands in, slowly begin to walk the knees back towards this table pose. So nice and slow, no big rush here. And once you have, we'll come all the way to seated position. Good, really well done, everyone. Once we're in our seated position, we're going to make our way into a forward fold. So for this, we want the legs straight out in front of us. I really want to think about flexing through these feet. So as if there's a wall by the feet and we're pressing into that wall. From here, let's lift the hands nice and high. And really as if somebody's pulling these hands up again. So it's as straight as you can be. Take the hands to parallel. Keep this length. And then as if there's this block in front of you about where the thighs are, or the knees, we want to feel as if we're going to lift the belly button up and over this block. And then we reach forwards. So find where you are, whether that's hands to the floor, whether you're binding with the toes, maybe even taking the outside edges of the feet. But wherever you are, make sure that the first thing that's really working is this spine, that we're lengthening the spine and we're not rounding all the way down. We're keeping this really solid length going to the spine. And we're going to hold here. We're going to hold here for a while. Now I'm going to time it here. So we're going to hold this for about a minute.
So really allow the breath to work with you here. Take big, deep inhales. As we take our inhales, we lengthen. As we take our exhales, we fold some more. You can close the eyes here, or you can take the gaze to the toes. Keep the feet engaged. Good, really lovely. Nice. So if, Bethany, you can even see if you can hold your hands around your feet as well. There you go. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, good. And then yes, take the gaze downwards. Take a big deep inhale, really lifting through this chest, and exhale, drawing that chest towards the toes. Good. Just a few more breaths to go. So we'll do 3 more deep breaths here. Inhaling. And exhaling. Inhaling. And exhale. Last big breath. Inhale. And exhale. As you inhale, slowly start to make your way back to a seated position. And from here, we're going to come all the way onto our back. And before we make our way to Shavasana, we're going to do a reclined bound angle. So what this means is we come all the way to our back, and we're doing this kind of diamond shape with our legs, but just in a reclined position. So what that means is we want to take our feet, the soles of our feet in as close as we can towards the hips. And then it doesn't matter where the knees are, whether they're very high up or whether they're moving towards the floor. We just find where it is, and we can begin to close the eyes, and you can take the arms to a cactus pose, which is really nice for the shoulders, or you can take them to a T pose, or keep them on your belly, closing the eyes, just allowing. Now don't do anything, we're not trying to push the knees in towards the ground, we're just fully allowing gravity to do the work here. We can begin to come back to our natural breath. In and out through the nose. Allowing the body to begin to rest. And seeing if you can clock into your hips. You can encourage them to soften a little bit more. And when I say soften, it doesn't necessarily mean that anything will happen, that there'll be great shifts. It's just starting to connect towards the hips and allowing them to soften. So it's giving them kind of permission. And even if nothing massively happens, it's still working, because so often we hold so much tension in our hips, particularly if we have very sedentary lives. Just taking a couple more breaths here. And then we can begin to move into our Shavasana. So just extending the legs out. If you're feeling anything in the lower back, you can even take your Shavasana with the soles of the feet on the floor. Take them to the width of the mat, and then allow the knees to drop inwards. You can take the legs up the wall if that feels better for your Shavasana today. Taking any option that feels right for you, and once you're there, just closing the eyes and allowing the body to be heavy, dropping into the mat, dropping into the ground. As we lie here in our Shavasana today, please just take a moment to think of a way in which, with the rest of this week coming up, a way in which you could surrender when maybe there's something difficult coming up, or maybe something really fun, really easy. In what ways can you surrender to your surroundings, to your environment, to things that are outside of your control? Have a think, take one example, and really visualize yourself doing that.
If your mind wanders, come back to the breath. And then slowly begin to deepen that breath. Take a big deep inhale in through the nose. And exhale out through the mouth. Begin to wiggle the fingertips and the toes. And then lifting the arms up over the head, stretching the arms out, stretching the legs out, full body stretch. And then draw the knees in towards you, give yourself a big hug. Big squeeze. And slowly begin to roll onto whichever side serves you, using the arm nearest the floor as a cushion for the head. Staying here for a moment, and slowly lifting yourself all the way to a comfortable seated position. Reclosing the eyes if they've opened, and taking the hands to heart center once you're there, no rush. I'll lift through the crown of the head. And exhale and soften the head down towards the hands, fluttering the eyes open. And looking up.